Hey everybody, welcome to Mammoth Interactive's YouTube channel. First of all, I want to thank you for watching this video. And remember that this channel doesn't do Patreon. Instead, we sell our digital courses down below. And every single dollar that we get from the products you buy below goes into making more content. The best way to help out this channel and Mammoth Interactive is to subscribe to Mammoth Interactive's huge library of content. Get thousands of hours and hundreds of courses for a low price down below. We have a monthly option and a yearly option. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the video.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back. Today we're gonna learn about Photoshop, okay? If you're an absolute beginner, you've never used Photoshop before, this is the tutorial for you, okay? I'm just gonna jump in and create a new file so that, we can get our hands dirty, So I'm gonna click this button right here that says Create New. And you can see there are a bunch of custom canvas sizes. I'm gonna use this one that says 4,000 by 3,000. That seems fine. Just make sure that the color mode is set to RGB. And just so you know, RGB is for stuff that are gonna be viewed on screen. And if you're doing like an artwork that needs to be printed, CMYK is the way to go. So for now, we're just gonna use RGB. And for the orientation, let's just keep it at landscape. That's fine for now. And I'm just gonna go ahead. We can name it. We can name the file from here. Let's name it Sketching Practice. Okay, and then we're gonna press Create. All right, so this is the Photoshop interface. Not very intimidating, right? And I'm just gonna go ahead and press this tiny button right here. This is called the Layers panel. We're gonna go into it in a lot of detail in a moment, but like we're just gonna press this plus sign right here, and it's gonna create a new layer. So I like to separate the interface into 4 parts. So I'm gonna just quickly choose another brush. And okay, so this canvas that you're seeing is part number 1. And this part on the left, right here, this is the toolbox number 2. And on the right is number 3, which are the windows that we use. And I'm gonna go into detail on why I use these certain windows for painting and my process with that, okay? So the last thing is going to be the menus bar, number 4. As you can see, this is the menus bar. It says we can see menus like File, Edit, Image, Layer, and stuff like that. Which ones are actually important, which ones I never use, and so on, okay? So we're just gonna remove this layer, and we do that by pressing and holding the layer that we like and just grabbing it into the trash can sign and just releasing, and it's gone. So we're gonna make a new layer the same way using the plus sign, and now we're just gonna talk about this canvas. So this canvas, think of it as the base of all layers, the bottom part. The white canvas is this background layer. Think of it as a white sheet of paper underneath, okay? So we're gonna go back to our layer. And let's talk more about the toolbox, okay? What is the tool that I'm holding right now? It's the brush tool. If you right click on the brush tool, you can see there are a bunch of other tools like the pencil tool, color replacement tool, and mixer brush tool. These are all not as important as the brush tool. And the brush tool is very important for painting. As I'm painting this, I'm using a graphics tablet, which means that it has pressure sensitivity, which is why when I press harder, it gets thicker, and when I press softer, it gets smaller like this, and it gives you this effect. And this is why, this is how basically digital painting works. It's very important for digital painting to have this effect. So that's the brush. If you'd like to make it bigger, you can change the size by right-clicking and changing the slider. Smaller, bigger. Okay. Just gonna press Ctrl Z to go back. And there we go. Okay, let's talk about another tool that is very, very important. Let's say I'm gonna draw something very simple. Let's draw a simple eye, for example. Okay. This. All right. Let's draw the lower lid, the brow, something like that. Okay, just simple. What if I want to move this eye? Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead into this top tool right there, and it's called the Move tool. And when I'm on the Move tool, I can just press and hold and move the part that I like. And what if I want to move a part of this drawing, not the entire thing? First of all, notice that it's drawn on this layer that I've selected, okay? What if I pick this tool, the second tool, which is the Marquee tool? The Marquee tool is used for selecting things, selecting parts of the image. So if I select this part, for example, and then go to the Move tool again, I can move it separately, okay? Can give him like a tiny crack in the eyebrow, but maybe that's not what we want. What if I want to choose or like select something different and it doesn't work for the rectangle tool, the rectangle marquee tool, or the elliptical marquee tool? Then the perfect solution would be the lasso tool, okay? What does the lasso tool do exactly? I'm gonna right click right here and then click deselect to remove the selection. And the lasso tool is basically you drawing the selection that you'd like. So if I go ahead and press and select this area, I'm going to be able to move it separately from the rest of the layer, okay? What if I want to make the eye look more angry, for example? I will go to the lasso tool again, right click, and then click Free Transform. Free Transform is very important because it makes you able to manipulate your selections. You can resize, maybe rotate, and a lot of other cool features. I'm going to make it a bit more angry, and then I'm going to press deselect. All right. And then we have another layer that is very important, which is this eraser tool. If you are using a graphics tablet like me, you can maybe flip your stylus and use the eraser on the back of the pen, or you can use this tool. This tool allows you to erase, which is very simple. All right, I think that covers most of the stuff that we need from the toolbox for sketching, okay? Now we can move on to the windows on the right. Okay, I like to keep 3 main windows, as you can see. The swatches panel, the history panel, and the layers panel, okay? The swatches panel is coupled with a color panel. Why is that important? Sometimes I like to pick colors that are in a certain palette or that I've kept and I know very well. This is why I use the swatches. But sometimes I need to change the value, which is very important if you want to think about color in a more intentional way. So the color panel, I set it to the HSB slider mode because it has a value slider. So if I pick, for example, this red color and I want it to be darker, I will go to this slider. If I wanted to have less saturation, I would go to this slider, and then I would be thinking more intentionally about color. This is a more advanced concept, so let's just keep it in our minds for now, but like we will jump into that same idea in the next few tutorials, okay? So the next panel is the history panel. Of course, we make a lot of mistakes while drawing, so we would like sometimes to go back. And the history panel keeps a lot of steps back in order to make you able to even go back to the first canvas, the clean canvas. And then you can obviously jump back in and continue from where you left off. I use it a lot to see the before and after, basically. The history panel can also be replaced by pressing Ctrl-Z. You can press Ctrl-Z all the time, and you can see here that it's changing. What if I want to redo this stuff? Then Ctrl-Shift-Z will bring you forward. Okay, so backwards, forward. All right. Now for the most important panel, the layers panel. Let me just make it a bit bigger. Okay. So as you can see, we've been working so far on one layer that's called layer 1. We can rename this layer by double clicking on the name like this. Okay, we can just use the keyboard. Let's call it I. All right. All right, great. The way that layers work, I would like you to think about layers as transparent sheets of paper, except for the background layer, which is a white sheet of paper, okay? So let's make a new layer just by pressing this plus sign right here. And we're gonna call this layer, for example, red. Let's call it red. You can also do a fun thing and just like change, by right-clicking, change the color of the layer itself to red. This is just a visual thing, okay? So now we can just pick the color red and start painting. As you can see, this layer is on top of the eye layer, right? Which means that when you draw on the canvas, you're gonna draw on top of it. But what happens if I press and hold, grab this layer and put it underneath the eye layer? As you can see, the eye layer is now on top. And this is how layers work. The layer that is on top is going to be shown in front of the layer on the bottom. Okay? So if you press this plus sign one more time and make a new layer, let's call it blue. All right. And also let's keep the visual thing going. Okay, let's color the layer itself with blue. Okay. Now we're going to get a blue color. And as you can see, the blue color is basically sandwiched between the two layers, the eye layer and the red layer. So what's going to happen once I start drawing? As you can see, the red layer is underneath the blue layer, and the blue layer is underneath the black layer. That's the same way that it is in the layers panel. Okay, so this is how layers work. Now let's talk about the menus bar. The menus bar is very important because if one of the windows that you have is gone, for example, let's remove the history layer. Let's close it. Okay. What if it's gone? You go to the windows, you look for whatever window you'd like. Let's say, okay, I want the history layer. You just pick it from here and it shows up. Okay. What else is important in the menus bar? The image menu is very important because you're going to go a lot to this image rotation, flip canvas horizontally while we're working in the tutorial, because it helps you see the canvas flipped, which basically tricks your brain into seeing your mistakes. It's a very important technique that is going to help you a lot to, identify what's going wrong with this painting. And I use it all the time. So I'm just going to recommend it to you, and you feel free to use it. Yeah. And what else do I use? I use the filter, and I use liquify all the time, because sometimes stuff are a little bit, misplaced, or like they don't look great, and liquify is just amazing. You use this warp tool, and you start shaping whatever you have, and you can even expand parts of it like you see here, or like make it smaller. It's a very, very powerful tool. I'm not going to do it right now, so I'm just going to click cancel. But if you want to keep these changes, you're going to press OK. So that's the liquify filter. It's very important. And let's say you're done and you'd like to save. So I'm going to go to File, Save As. You can save it in Documents. Just press Save after you've named it. And it's done. Okay. Now you have an idea about how the Photoshop interface works. And we are ready to jump in and do some fun stuff, right? So in the next tutorial, we will learn how to create a custom brush for sketching. I'm very excited to do that, and see you in the next tutorial. Hey, what's up? Welcome back. In this tutorial, we're going to do something really fun. We're going to talk about brushes, okay? And we're just going to have, at the beginning, just a very honest word about brushes, okay? I'm going to tell you something that is going to save you so much time as a digital artist. Brushes just don't matter, man. They literally do not matter. You can have the worst brush and still do awesome art. And you can have the fanciest brush and not know how to use it and then produce nothing, okay? So the best thing that you can do when it comes to brushes is to not overthink it. Try to think very, very simple about brushes. Now I'm holding the brush tool as I'm speaking to you, and Photoshop already has all these awesome brushes that come with the program, like the general brushes, dry media brushes. We have the wet media brushes and special effects. And for this tutorial, we're just gonna make a new brush, just a brush that, how do we say this? Let's make a brush that's gonna make it easier for us to transition from pencil and paper to this digital space. It's gonna be something like a pencil. It's not gonna be a pencil because it's still gonna have digital aspects to it, but it's gonna make it easier for you to think about this whole thing. And maybe just a fun sketching brush, just something for rough sketching. First of all, we're gonna make a new document, okay? And let's pick a new canvas that is 500 by 500. Okay, resolution. Let's keep it at 150. That's fine. And let's just open that one up. And we're gonna start a new layer. What I want you to do is to think about this process of making a new brush as something that you're just gonna be doing all the time. It's very, very easy. I'm gonna show you how easy it actually is so that you don't feel like, okay, I made a brush this month and that's it for the rest of my life. I'm gonna use this brush. No, whenever you're drawing something, you're always like changing your style. You're always thinking about different things. And I want you to think intentionally about your artwork. So if you want something that looks like line art, then you're gonna have to use a harder brush. And if you're wanting something more painterly, maybe you're gonna think about softer brushes. And it's all very easy. I'm gonna show you how to make one, and hopefully it inspires your interest to make your own brushes in the future. So what are we gonna do? You're gonna pick the hard brush Here I'm using the brush tool, and then I right click on the canvas. You get this window to pick your brushes. You're gonna pick the hard round brush that is the most basic brush basically in Photoshop. It has no pressure sensitivity. Just I want you to dab and create this sort of random shape. Okay, I'm just dabbing and creating like a sort of weird circular, sort of like a square shape. Okay, and all you need to do is go to Edit, Define Brush Preset, and there you have it. You have your brush. Just name it. We're gonna name it I don't know, pencil brush for sketching. Okay, cool. Okay, so now we can go back here in our bigger canvas, which is like 3000 by 4000. And now we'll find that the brush is already there. It's called the pencil brush for sketching. So once you draw with this brush, first of all, I need the new layer so that we don't draw on the background. You can see that it's not looking like a pencil. Okay, and why is that? We're gonna change some settings in this brush so that we can make it more like a pencil, more like a sketching brush. We have this window right here. It's called the brush settings. If you don't have this window, you're gonna find it in Window, Brush Settings, and bam, you have it. Okay, we're gonna go to first brush tip shape. Now, what does that do? That changes the size of the brush, which is, it doesn't really matter because you can do right click anywhere on the canvas and change the size all the time. But you can change the spacing. The spacing is very, very important. I'm gonna keep it very low at like 2 or 3%. And then we're gonna move on to the most important setting, basically the shape dynamics. Why do I say that? Well, because shape dynamics is where you can change the pen pressure of the size of your brush. So now that I already checked this box, you can see that the harder I press, the bigger the brush is, and the lower or like softer I press, it gets smaller. And we can change the minimum diameter of this brush so that, for example, when I press lower, it only reaches 5%. And if I like to keep it very, very low at like 0% so that, I get this sharp end to the lines. And I basically don't really change much else in this brush. Like the angle, I can just keep it simple. We can play around with the settings as much as you like, but like the angle looks a bit rough, which is what we do in a pencil brush. So we're gonna go to the scattering as well. I'm gonna check the scattering. What it does is basically what the angle did, but like more intensely, because I want the brush to have these sort of jaggedy, messy edges, okay, which is like a pencil. I'm gonna keep the color gray so that it feels more pencil-like. Okay, now the second most important setting is gonna be transfer. Now, once I check this, you can already see in the preview that the ends of the brush have become sort of, the opacity of them is lower, which is exactly what it does. It controls how hard you press and how much of the ink, basically, of the brush is let down on the canvas. So now the harder I press, the darker it is. Okay, I'm gonna keep the opacity jitter at around 80% and keep the minimum at around 10%. You can play around with these settings and see which kind of brush you like, but like I feel the pencil brush is usually kept at this setting. And lastly, we just need to add some noise. Okay, now you have a brush that sort of resembles a pencil. It's not exactly a pencil. You're going to keep it at a very low angle, low size, I'm sorry. And it's going to be able to do a lot of like fun sketches, very quick sketches like that. And it's going to look like a pencil sketch. You're going to do this. And the bigger it is, you can also do some shading. A bonus for this could be adding some texture, however. Now let's go to the textures that are already there in Photoshop. You can go to one of these and play around with the type of, let's say, the texture on a pencil brush looks like the paper that's underneath it. Does that make sense? Like it looks like the texture of the canvas that's underneath the pencil. So basically, let's choose this one, for example. And I like to play around with the depth first because it shows up in the preview more accurately. Now you can bring it down and start observing. Okay. Now we can see some texture peeking in the preview. Now once we have like the amount of texture that we need, we can play around with the scale. I like to keep it, yeah, that looks nice. And the brightness. And you can play around until you feel like, okay, this sort of looks like a canvas. And when you zoom in, you can see that now it looks like I'm drawing on a canvas. That's all for this tutorial. This is how you can make any brush. The point of this tutorial is not to make a pencil brush. It's to make a brush that is easy to use, easy to sketch with, to make rough sketches, to sort of give you the same feeling you have when you're drawing with a pencil brush. But it's definitely gonna have some of the attributes of the digital space. So yeah, have fun with your brush. I want you to create your own, and these settings I just made, they're just for me, so you can work with something different than that. And yeah, let's say that okay, you have created this brush, and you want to save these settings for this fancy pencil brush that we've created. Okay. Now what you want to do is go here into your brush settings, okay, and click this plus sign right here, and you're gonna name it, let's name it, okay, fancy pencil brush. All right. Now you're gonna have this fancy pencil brush right here, and then the pencil brush for sketching, the one that we've started with, that has basically no settings, okay? So you can just go ahead and delete that one and keep the fancy pencil brush. Now in the next tutorial, we're gonna practice drawing lines and circles on the graphics tablet on Photoshop. All right, see you in the next video. Hey, what's up? Welcome back. We're gonna do something that is gonna help you transition from drawing on a pencil with a pencil on a paper into drawing on Photoshop. Full disclosure, this is not gonna be fun. This is one of those things that you have to do. The boring stuff at the beginning that will sort of get you into becoming a better artist in the future. But we're gonna draw lines and ellipses. That's the boring part, okay? And then we're gonna do something fun. We're gonna draw over one of my drawings and see if the stuff that we've worked on could actually be applied in a painting. And I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks on how to sort of like ink and draw over a painting that you've done maybe traditionally, okay? So first of all, we're gonna work on your lines, man. Lines are basically the foundation of every piece of art you're gonna do. You're always drawing arcs or drawing lines, straight lines, while drawing your characters. So without further ado, let's just jump in and try to draw a line between 2 points. That sounds simple enough, but drawing a line has 2 directions usually. Like either it's coming towards you like this or going away from you. The second way is not the most effective way in drawing a line. Usually while drawing a line, you have to like sort of bring it towards you, and that way you will have more control over the line. So between these 2 points, for example, my best option would be to go from point 1 to point 2. And this is the way that you should think about each line while you're drawing it. If it's like a long line, you're gonna have to like step back and just think, okay, how should I actually approach this? So in this case, I want to draw a straight line between these 2 points. See, already I messed up because I wasn't focused. But like if I focus and learn from that mistake, there you go. And then I'm gonna try to draw in this exercise a few parallels to this line. So there we go. Let's try to draw a line that is parallel. Okay, another one. I want you to do this and try to keep the spaces between the lines the same way. There we go. Not bad. Okay, and like when you mess up, try to keep in mind, okay, I messed up in this one. I'm gonna try to fix it in another one. Try to think positively and intentionally about the things that you mess up with, because that way, that's how you learn, because your brain will collect that data and you will learn from it in the future. If we're done with diagonals, because that's mostly like the easier part, because your hand is mostly used to the tilted position while you're drawing on paper, you can move on to stuff like drawing horizontally. Like, let's try to draw a horizontal line between this point and this point. Like I said, I want to bring it to me. So I'm going to do this. Try to keep it as straight as possible. See, I messed up there. So I want to keep that in mind while I'm working again. And once you've finished, or like once you're done with a bunch of lines, you can increase the difficulty by drawing between those lines and seeing if you're gonna be able to keep it straight. See, that's not exactly in the middle, so I'm gonna fix that. Yeah, that's better. Okay. That's a good one. I'm gonna ignore this one because it's already messed up. But you get the idea. Once you've moved in from that, you can do vertical lines. Let's see. Between this point and this point. This point. Okay. That's messed up. No problem. Whenever you make a mistake, just make a note of it in your brain and then move on. You're gonna have to do a lot of these in order to teach your brain how to draw these. It's not something that you can just do a couple of pages of and okay, you're done. Remember, we're building new brain bits while we're doing this. You're learning how to do this on a subconscious level. So one thing I noticed, by the way, while beginners draw certain things like, okay, let's make a new layer. Let's say you want to draw a square. Like, what I realize that people do is they usually draw the square like this. Okay, I'm gonna do it in one take. Like this. But it never really works. The most effective way of drawing things like that, straight lines, is to overshoot them. And This way, you're gonna have more control over your lines. Okay, let's go back to our main layer. So yeah, you get the idea behind the lines. That's it for this video. In the next video, we're gonna increase the difficulty by drawing ellipses and circles. See you in the next video. All right, so we have worked on our lines in the last video. Now we are moving into something a bit more difficult. We're gonna draw ellipses and circles. If you press Shift while pressing with your pen on your tablet, you are going, okay, let me just move into the artwork. Okay, the artboard, sorry. We're gonna be able to draw a completely horizontal line. If you press Shift again, you can do this. It's like a ruler. Vertically or horizontally, you're gonna be able to draw a straight line, but don't use this for cheating in the lines exercise. Okay? So what I want you to do is to draw the same points that we've used in the lines and then connect them. Okay, messed up again. All right, now I want you to draw an ellipse around this line, okay? While you're doing this, try to keep in mind that you want both sides to be as symmetrical as possible. So let's do another line. By the way, while I'm going back, I'm pressing Ctrl Z. Okay, let's do another one. Let's try to keep it the same way. Okay. Feel free to pause mid drawing it and just think about the nuances of the ellipse. Which part is more going out than in, which parts are more straighter than others, and just keep your mind on the ellipse itself. Don't go just going through the motions, because I usually get bored and do this, but yeah, you get the idea. You have to learn the boring way. Unfortunately, that's how things are. See, that one is absolutely messed up. But no worries, just go ahead, continue. Do a bunch of these lines and try to fill them all until the end, until you're more comfortable drawing ellipses. Now we can do something even more difficult. Circles. Now circles are difficult because they're just so perfect. They're the perfect shape. Like, how am I going to be able to nail a circle on the first try? Of course you're not. So just keep in mind that you want the right side to be exactly as the left side. Okay. Not my best try as well. But there are a few tricks to be able to draw a circle very quickly, very intuitively. Like that, okay? And this is how you're never probably gonna be in need of drawing like a perfect circle, okay? Circles are usually drawn as this sort of intuitive shape, okay? And it looks more attractive that way, to be honest. While we're sketching, it looks more attractive than this. So how do we do that? My approach to this is to hover over the part that you want to draw the circle in until you start envisioning a good circle. And then you press your pen. So let's see. Okay, seeing something. There we go. Do it one more time. So start working. Okay, that's a circle. And then you can just go ahead and fill in the parts that are missing, and we can try another one. Let's see. See, I'm building up the circle. So I'm also zooming out to the comfort of my hand. Like sometimes you'd be just like too close. You're too close to the screen. That's why the circle is just not coming through. So let's try another one. Try to get a feel of what it looks like before pressing, and then press gradually. Like the circle is usually going to be used for sketching heads, for example. And heads are never really perfect. So you're just going to need this part in drawing characters, for example, in order to start building the head over it. And then you're going to draw the eyes. And so on, okay? So this is why we need our circles. So do as much of these as you can until you get comfortable drawing them, and hopefully better than I did, because the circles especially don't look that great. But anyway, this is it for this video. In the next video, we're gonna apply what we've learned in the quality of line and try to trace over one of my drawings and see how it goes, and try to avoid the mistakes that we usually do while doing that. Okay, see you in the next video. All right, so this is the last video of this transition tutorial between drawing on paper versus drawing on digital. So what are we gonna do in this video? We're gonna trace over this painting that I have drawn of a tiger sort of losing its stripes while swimming. Okay, so this is the layer that's the sketch is on, tiger losing its stripes. I'm gonna change the opacity to about 30%. All right, that's perfect. And then we're gonna add a new layer for the sketch. We're gonna call it line art. Okay, I'm gonna color in red so that you can see that. All right, so we just need a brush. We're gonna pick this hard round brush. Of course, it doesn't have pressure sensitivity, so we're just gonna go into shape dynamics and pen pressure. There we go. If you don't have this brush settings, you're gonna find it in window, brush settings, okay? All right, now we can just go ahead and start inking this painting, right? So while we're doing that, we need a lot of confidence in order to get it right. See? That sort of thing. Now, as you can see, what I'm doing here is that I'm overshooting and then deleting, okay? So overshoot your lines and then fix them. And like I said, what you need here is to bring your lines to you. So if I have to draw this, I'm gonna draw it like this, not the other way around, okay? Just we're gonna go into the chin here. See, sometimes you're just gonna have to do a couple of trials until you get the right line. And you know, when I started out, I used to draw this way, the feather way, okay? I used to draw everything like that, which is understandable sometimes where there's fur like that, but sometimes you just gotta have this confident line, just this expressive line, okay? And then can just keep going and do the fur in a more dynamic fashion, you know? Not this fur thing. This fur thing, when beginner artists try to draw anything, they just do it in sections like that. And you just feel like the drawing is broken. Like it's separated into so many parts, it's confusing. But you get the idea. If you try to take one of your old paintings and you take a picture of them, upload it to Photoshop and start drawing over it, you're gonna notice a lot of your mistakes while doing any sort of line work. And I think it's a lot of fun to do this, so it's a fun exercise. So I encourage you to just pick up an old painting or an old picture and just start drawing over it. That concludes our tutorial on how to transition from your traditional drawing into your digital space. And yeah, this is how it's gonna look at the end, by the way, because I've already inked it. And yeah, that's it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we're gonna start having fun. We're gonna draw and design a new character for a game. Okay? So see you in the next tutorial.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching this course. If you want to watch the rest of the course, the link is down below. Not only will you get the access to this course, but you'll get access to a lot of other courses in a huge bundle, and it's on sale today. So buy before the sale ends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.